Welcome to Batpixel. I got some very helpful tips today. If you own an ASUS ROG Ally or you're thinking about getting one, at least do the first tip. It's so helpful. It's a CPU boost. So basically what happens is when you buy this straight out of the box, the CPU is boosted way more than it needs to be. That causes it to drain more wattage on your battery. It runs it at a way higher temperature. So this can run pretty hot. So what I'm going to show you is going to bring that temperature way down, but you're going to keep the same performance on your AAA games. Here's me playing Battlefield 2042 on 128 player servers with this CPU option disabled, and I'm not losing any performance, so don't worry about that. So with that said, this is how you disable it. I'll make this easier for you to view in a second, but first go down and search for your registry editor. Open up that app and say yes. I'm just going to screen record this on my laptop so it's easier for you to see. I have all the steps over here in a notepad so you can see it as I go. It's pretty simple. You just open up H key local machine, then system, open up current control set, and then control. Scroll down till you find power and power settings. Now underneath power settings you'll see that they're numbered. Scroll down to 54533. Open that up, then scroll down and just click on BE337238. Once you have BE33 selected, you'll see attributes. Just double click that and a little pop-up window will come up and say value data 1. Change that to 2 and this will enable you to go in and change your CPU settings. So say OK and exit out of that. So the next part's pretty easy. Just search edit power plan, open that up, and then click change advanced power settings. You can see this is in your control panel, so scroll down in this little window and open up processor power management and then processor performance boost mode. You see how these are set to aggressive? You'll have to disable these for the silent mode, performance mode, and turbo modes on the ROG Ally. This is my Ally screen. I just want to show you the drop down menu. You should see performance, silent, and turbo. You'll want to turn it off for all three of these. So for example, if I click turbo and I open up the same menus, you'll see that I have it disabled and I'm not losing any performance and my Ally is running at a much lower temperature. The second tip is just as important. When you get this out of the box, you have to do all the updates for it because when they manufactured it and shipped it out, it doesn't have the updates and you really need them. It makes it perform a lot better. So there's 3 places you should do your updates and I'll show you where they are. The first place you should check is your armory crate. So just open up your armory crate by clicking on it on the taskbar or click the armory crate button on the right hand side of the console. Then click content and update center. You can check for updates over here and you'll see a bunch down here that you got to go through. The second place you want to check for updates is in My ASUS. It's a little blue app on the bottom on the taskbar. Open that up or search for it and you'll see in the center of the screen whether your device is up to date or not. So make sure to go through those. The third update is for Windows 11 that comes standard on the system. So just go down to the taskbar and search for update and you can check for Windows system updates. Before I get into the next tip, yes, this does say Atari 2600 on it because I have an awesome piece of software on here that lets me play all kinds of different systems. I'll go over that later. Here's another little tip. If you spin this in any direction, the screen will change for you. So what would this be useful for? I don't know. Galaga? Pinball? Anyone? Maybe you're in the middle of a video call with a really tall person. You can also put this into sleep mode by tapping on the power button. So for the next tip, if you're like me, you'll probably want to play this on your TV as well. So you're probably thinking, I'll just pick up a cheap third-party dock, or maybe you got a dock lying around from something else. But if you're playing new AAA games, you're going to lose performance if you use those. There's one dock that they made specifically for this by Republic of Gamers, ROG. I picked it up and it's been amazing. It has the ROG letters on it and the logo. It comes with HDMI 2.0, a USB port, and your USB-C charger port to keep this charged while you're playing on your TV. and this works amazing. It's really heavy. I don't know what's inside, but it keeps your performance maxed. I've been playing the new Hogwarts Legacy, Battlefield 2042, Stray, AEW Fight Forever through this, and I haven't had any performance issues, and it's been great. Highly recommend this, it's awesome. I'll leave links in the description. You can pick this up off the ROG website, or you can pick it up at Best Buy. Speaking of game performance, you have to think about how this is performing while you're playing. So in order to change that on the go, you can hit this command center button here to open it up. See this little menu? You can change your game performance in here so you can use less battery, or if you're playing a newer game, you can boost the performance. Or you can open it up in your settings in your Armory Crate menu, as I showed you before. So basically, the top left button is the one you want to change on the go. So I'm running this in silent mode right now, which is the lowest wattage at 10 watts on your battery. And I'll usually run this for most games just to see how they perform. When I'm running older retro games, I'll keep it on this so I'll use less battery and it won't be so hard on the system. But if I play later consoles, I might change it to performance at 15 watts. That'll give me a little bit extra if I need it, but for the most part, performance is for newer games. And if you're playing AAA titles and you really need enough power, or if you're playing in TV mode, you can change it to Turbo, which is 25 watts, and it'll give you the best performance you can get out of this thing. But there are some other options I'll go over here too that'll really help you out in getting better performance out of this when you need it. The second option is your control mode. Right now I have it set to gamepad so I can use the controls on the console itself to play, but you can turn that off and just change the desktop mode if you want to use a mouse and keyboard. You can set it to auto and it does a pretty good job on picking up when you need the gamepad mode or desktop mode, but for me personally I just leave it on gamepad mode because I'm just mostly gaming on this. Real-time monitor option to the right will show you how your games are performing, so you can see your CPU, GPU, how much wattage you're using, and your frames per second. There's an on-screen keyboard that I find really helpful if I gotta get out of games on the go. So the next option is your resolution. You can leave it at 720p if you want to save battery life, but if you're getting the frames per second that you want and you're plugged into the TV or you're not worried about the battery, you can change it to 1080p, and this is very helpful for when you're playing on your TV. The next option is your frames per second limiter. You can leave this off and it'll try to get the best frames per second possible. But if you want to limit your frames per second if you don't need them, there's a bunch of options you can choose from. The next couple of options are your graphics. So the AMD RIS is if you want to improve the sharpness of the graphics, and the AMD RSR will help upscale the graphics if you want to try to improve how they look. The refresh rate really depends on your TV. Some people's TVs can do 120 Hz refresh rates. I just left mine at 60 because I have an older 1080p TV. But the option to play 120 Hz is nice if you need it. Now the next few options are pretty self-explanatory. The only one I'll talk about is the embedded controller. I have it enabled right now to use the controls on the console. But if you're playing in TV mode, make sure to disable the embedded controller and just use an external Bluetooth controller or mouse and keyboard. Speaking of external controllers, I've just been using an Xbox One Bluetooth controller and it's been phenomenal. I love this thing. It works really well with the ASUS ROG Ally, and it's Microsoft and Windows is on this, so it just works really well. I play all my old emulated games with this too. Any Bluetooth controller will work for you. The only thing I don't like about these controllers is when I'm playing N64, I have to use this joystick as the C buttons, which I really don't like, especially playing games like Tony Hawk Pro Skater or No Mercy. So I actually just ordered a set of Brawler controllers for the N64. They're Bluetooth and they have the C buttons that you can use instead of the joystick. They're made specifically for N64. It's a pretty hardcore option, but if you're a big N64 fan like me, you'll appreciate using this way more than a joystick for the C buttons. These come in at about 45 bucks each, so they're not so bad, but I couldn't decide between the gray or the blue see-through controller, so I got both because it reminded me of when I was growing up. I had a gray N64 controller and a see-through purple controller for player 2, so this will kind of remind me of that. You can also get a fully white controller, which looks really cool and modern, but I just went with the nostalgic look. Keep an eye out on the channel because I'm going to be reviewing these when they show up, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and like the video. It helps me out a lot and I really do appreciate it. Where this is Windows, I'd highly recommend getting an external Bluetooth mouse and keyboard, just not this one, because I bought this Logitech Bluetooth keyboard and this thing sucks. This is called the Performance MK850 and it does not perform. But one reason I did pick this up is because it came with a really wide mouse, and this one specifically is the Logitech M720, and I actually use this at my job because I have really wide hands, so this one's wider and it feels really comfortable and I don't get that cramp in my thumb. But it's not a gaming mouse, so do your research if you want one of those. This is the Red Dragon K618 Horse mechanical gaming keyboard, so this will perform way better than my Logitech one. And this will cost you around 50 bucks, so it's not so bad, and it looks and feels awesome. So keep an eye out on the channel, and I'll review this when I get some more experience with it. So I promised you I'd go over this emulator system that I got on here. Now you can download emulators and install them all yourself, and you can even get different softwares that'll have a menu system for you, and you can set that all up if you want. But I'm running this through EmuDeck. Now EmuDeck has a Patreon page where you can pay a few bucks a month, and that's what I'm doing, and I think it's worth it because EmuDeck will download all your emulators, it'll map all the buttons on this for you, and it'll update the emulators if you need them. You can manage everything. It's just super helpful, and it works with these handhelds because it was released through Steam, and it works perfectly with the Steam Deck, and it works for this too, as well as some other handheld PCs. This video is not sponsored by EmuDeck, I just think it's super helpful and it's worth it for me. But that's totally optional, you don't have to do that, you can do it all yourself. Now keep in mind, this has the power to emulate Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, because that's how far emulation has come, and it'll play everything before those as well. So if you think about the amount of game systems you'd have to install if you want everything, it would take you a long time. It's pretty cool because I tried to set up the Vectrex emulator on my Powkitty V90 and I couldn't get it working at all. I didn't understand what was going on, but I got it on here and it works perfect. Playing it on my TV with a controller, it's just epic. I've been having such a good time playing all my old games. All you basically got to do is download EmuDeck from their Patreon and go through the menus, and it'll show you how to set it up. If you're not sure on something, there's lots of YouTube videos on how to set up EmuDeck. Just watch videos that show you how to set it up for the ASUS ROG Ally and you'll be fine. So the way I got the storage set up on this is I have a micro SD card with all my games on it that I'm emulating. All my retro games are on here. Pretty much everything that I'm running through EmuDeck is on that. And I saved the internal solid state drive on the console itself for newer games. So I have links in the descriptions for different micro SD cards you can pick up, and they're all U3A2 micro SD cards that'll give you really good performance with this console. The next tip is kind of a combination of two things. If you're using this on the go, or you like playing it off your TV just on your couch in your hands. This is touchscreen, and where you'll be using this on the go, you're going to want a screen protector. I picked up a 2-pack of screen protectors from D brand. They have ROG Ally tempered glass screen protectors, and they're really good. They cost about 25 bucks. You can get cheaper options if you want. I just got a higher quality one because I know I'll be using this a lot. In combination with that, you should get yourself an external battery pack if you're using this on the go a lot and you want to extend the battery life a lot more. That's really the big issue with this, is the battery doesn't last very long, but these handheld PCs haven't really got to that point where the batteries are amazing on them yet. They're all kind of not great. This one particularly is pretty bad. Now if you want to wait, game companies are going to make cases for these that'll have battery packs on the back. So you can keep this charged in your game case while you're carrying this around and playing it. So I might wait to pick one of those up because it'll be a lot more efficient than just having an external pack. Now the last tip I'll leave you with is that this is an absolute beast of a machine, but it's a premium product and it is expensive. And there are other options out there. People have made good points in the comment section that the Steam Deck's a lot cheaper and it can pretty much do almost everything that this can. This has more gaming performance, but that's really for the new AAA games. You can get better performance out of this thing, but the Steam Deck will do just fine if that's all you can afford. There's also other handheld options out there. Like the Steam Deck has been out for a while now and it's amazing. So if you'd rather go that route, go with it and you'll be happy with your purchase. If you're still thinking about it, Just do some research on this and the Steam Deck and some others, and make sure you pick what you're going to enjoy the most and what works best for you. But with that said, thanks again for tuning into the channel. I'll see you in the next one.